Welcome to Seeds of Tomorrow, a CPVO podcast series. In this series, we delve deep into the world of plant variety rights. What are they? How do they protect new, innovative plant varieties? And why are they essential for the agricultural advancements in Europe and beyond? We'll explore the CPVO's mission, its framework, and its unique role in safeguarding these vital assets. But that's not all. We'll also unravel the complex yet fascinating differences between plant variety rights and patents, ensuring you understand the intricate tapestry of agricultural law. Stay tuned for our very first episode, where we'll introduce you with the world of plant varieties, not just types of plants, but the marvels of diversity and innovation they embody. So, plant a seed of curiosity and let it grow with every episode of Seeds of Tomorrow. Because the future of agriculture isn't just about the food we eat. It's about the seeds we sow today. In this first episode, we are honored to have the president of the CPVO with us, Mr. Francesco Mattina. Francesco, good morning.
Good morning.
Francesco, can you tell us how the CPVO started and why it was needed?
The CPVO was created in 1995. It's already almost 30 years that it exists. The purpose was to create a regional system to protect in all the territory of the European Union plant innovation by means of an intellectual property right, which was called Community Plant Variety Right.
And you are an European agency outside Brussels, meaning that there are other European agencies outside Brussels around there?
Yes, today there are more than 40 agencies with different specialization, with different tasks, and it's a kind of delocalizing the competence per policy areas and support the implementation of European policies.
And do you get to work together with some of the agencies in the same area?
So we have a network among all the agencies, and then we can develop more synergies depending on our scope of operation. So in particular, there is one other agency that deals with intellectual property right, which is located in Alicante, in Spain. We closely collaborate with them.
And you mentioned intellectual property rights. How the CPVO is different from other intellectual property offices?
Well, it's different because the system is rather different from other intellectual property rights, such as patents or trademarks. And we deal with living organisms, with plant varieties, and this kind of material needs to be grown. It's not only paperwork, let's say like that. In other fields of intellectual property, you deal with papers. In our field, we deal with plants.
But this is part of your personal history. How long have you been working here at the CPVO? What have you been doing before joining CPVO?
Yes, I joined 10 years ago, and I am a specialized intellectual property lawyer. And I started as head of the legal unit, so dealing with legal matters.
And then?
And then I became vice president and finally president of this agency.
You mentioned that the CPVO runs a system, if I may say so. What is, in practice, the plant variety rights system and why it is important?
As said, it's an intellectual property system. It recognizes the creative investment and effort done by innovators in this sector by granting an exclusivity right on their creations.
An exclusivity right that covers all Europe?
Yes, it covers all the European Union member states. So it applies equally with a simple process, a centralized process, which does not require that the breeder has to ask for the protection in each of the member states. With one application, one examination, you get it all.
So you need to be a breeder to apply for protection before your office. Can I apply?
You can apply if you are able to create a new variety. I mean, you don't have to qualify as breeder as a compulsory requirement. Everybody can apply for protection even farmer could create a new variety and decide to protect this variety.
Let's take an example. I am a farmer and I have a new variety of apple. What do I do?
You would like to protect this new variety, and therefore you would consider applying for protection with the CPVO. You would do it online, you would fill in some forms, and you will provide us with all the information regarding your new variety, and this will allow us to take the next steps.
So the CPVO is my single point of contact for my application process.
Yes, the CPVO becomes your single reference contact to manage your innovation.
I file the application online and I have my seeds. I ship them here in Angers.
So you file online, you provide all the information, our experts analyze this information, consider if it is all fine, and then the applicant is informed on the next steps, and specifically the applicant is informed of where this variety will be grown, where this variety will be tested. The applicant can express a preference for
Wait a second. Where it's going to be grown? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean that since we are dealing with living organisms, so plants, and not only papers, we have to decide where to test this variety. So the variety has to be grown. And we don't do it ourselves, we do it in collaboration with national authorities. These national authorities are called examination offices. We have to decide where to test, where to grow this new variety.
Do I have a saying in this? I have an apple and I wouldn't like to have it grown in Finland, for instance, because
well, the breeder is the person most suited to, because he or she knows what has been done, and therefore, yes, we offer a possibility to the applicant to tell us where eventually is the best location to test a variety. However, then we will analyze all the elements of the application and we will decide.
okay, so my application is filed, I have my boxes, and you tell me where to send them.
And then we will give instructions to the applicant where to send the material that represent this new variety, being seeds or seedlings, for example. We give instructions on the where, on the quantity, on the quality. All this information is delivered to the applicant, and the applicant send the material, let's say to France. And then the authority receiving the material, they will check if everything is fine, and they will design the trial. So they will have to design the way this material is grown and how the testing should be conducted.
With the how the testing should be conducted, what do you mean exactly? Since there are many varieties of many species, do you have protocols? Do you have step-by-step guides?
Yes, we have guidelines which are called technical protocols, developed by experts in different crops, in different species, and a technical expert making the technical examination of a variety will use these documents to be able to test the variety.
To ultimately decide if this variety is in fact new or not.
There are a number of criteria that have to be observed and fulfilled. Technical criteria that we call distinctness, uniformity, and stability. And using the initials of these words, we created the acronym DUS. And the variety, of course, should be new, and also the variety should have a name, so-called denomination. Otherwise, it would be not possible to identify different materials of different varieties. It's a little bit like individuals. We all have a name to to identify ourselves. Yeah, your apple have names, and all this data we collected and we created a database which is called Variety Finder. And in this database, you can search for varieties. You can make searches, for example, by name or by using the species or applying other criteria. And the Variety Finder is a very useful tool for anybody who want to look and know if a certain variety exists and if it is protected, if it is not protected, etc.
You've been running the system for almost 30 years now. How many varieties do you have on your database?
Today, active protected varieties around 31,000.
That's a lot of names. Back to my apples that are growing in France. How long does it take?
Well, the duration of this testing varies a lot depending on the species. If we think of fruit trees, it could be a minimum of 3 to 4 or even longer. But depending on the species, it could be also only 1 year, for example, for ornamental varieties, for flowers.
Okay, so we grow my apples there in France, and then the result came. What would be the result?
Yes, so there is an expert in this national authority. They will grow the variety. They will make sure that the variety is not damaged, that is properly maintained. They observe, they take measurements, notes, and then they provide the CPVO with a report. Final report with the findings, the conclusions, and if everything goes well, they will also deliver what we call an official variety description. The variety description is a document in which we find, according to what we mentioned before, the technical protocol, all the characterization of a certain variety according to a list of characteristics. So it's a system by which we can identify by describing the variety through characteristics.
This is going to be the ID of my apples.
Yes, in essence, yes. It's the ID of the variety, yes.
Okay, the CPVO receives this from the examination office. I'm still waiting for the CPVO decision at this stage.
Indeed. So the CPVO received this information from one of our partner authority, and then we analyze, we check the outcome, and if everything goes well, we will grant a certificate of protection to the breeder, to the applicant, and the protection will last 25 years or 30 years, depending on the species.
What do you mean, depending on the species? My apples, how much will they get?
They will get 30 years from the day we grant this certificate.
And this protection is valid throughout Europe?
Yes, it will be applicable in all the 27 member states.
Well, how your work here at CPVO help people in Europe? Since we're talking about Europe, especially with farming and food, how the new varieties are helping people?
New varieties have always something useful to bring to our community. The work of a breeder is extremely precious. It's extremely important. To create a new variety, a breeder has something in mind, if I may say so. It's a creative work. It's something that has to fulfill different objectives. It could be either developing a new resistance to a new pest or disease.
Thus, reducing the level of pesticides that I'm using in my field.
Yes, because by introducing into the genetic of a new variety a specific resistance, you could avoid or reduce considerably the use of inputs or protection products. Or it could be, for instance, a variety that has a higher tolerance to a long period of drought, for example. So The fact that we have less water will impact a lot the plants.
Are you seeing these new type of varieties being submitted for protection lately at the CPVO?
Yes, varieties of this kind have always been filed and submitted for protection, for sure. Other objectives can also cover the nutritious quality of a new variety. For instance, recently I visited a breeding company where one of the objective is to improve the content in vitamins of grape, wine, table varieties. And this is also changing the consumer habits because nowadays you could easily use, for example, this kind of table grape varieties as snacks, and this can improve the diet also of children.
True.
So it's very important to think that behind there is a lot of research and there is a lot of investment in terms of new opportunities.
And new challenges as well, because these new varieties that are able to resist to climate change, for instance, or use less water, are in fact helping achieving the EU Green Deal objectives.
Indeed, and without these varieties, we would not be able to do that. And it's undeniable that this is helping achieving those results.
And you are the office at the European level that grants this protection. What are the other institutions outside Europe that do the same job of yours?
Well, not exactly the same job, but we have an international legal framework and we have an international organization which is called UPOV. UPOV stands for Union for the Protection of Plant Variety Rights. And there is an international treaty, which is the UPOV Convention, which set the framework for protecting plant variety rights. And the EU has been a member to the UPOV Convention since 2005.
By the EU, you mean CPVO as is a member? Because Europe.
No, not the CPVO as such, the European Union. The European Union as intergovernmental organization, member to the UPOV Convention.
And do you collaborate with UPOV?
Yeah, we do collaborate and we support harmonization of practices, capacity building with countries that are already members and countries that are in the process of considering becoming UPOV members.
Speaking of capacity building and outside Europe, are you part in any project outside Europe, co-financed by the European Commission, for instance?
Yes, there are nowadays many projects that are financed by some European Union instrument, and plant variety rights are part of these projects.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah, there are many projects in different regions. In Asia, for example, it's called IPK, Southeast Asia. In Latin America, similar one. The key component of all this project is to enhance, improve the standard of protection of intellectual property rights in these regions. And plant variety rights are part of the portfolio. In Africa as well, there is another project which has the same aim. It's called AFRIPI, so Africa, IP, AFRIPI. In practice, what do? We provide technical trainings. We provide, capacity building in order to improve, for example, the administration of the system. We provide support for the development of the regulatory framework in this country and the legal framework, so implementation of policies, all of these part of these projects.
So you work outside Europe as well?
Yes.
And I was wondering, do you have some kind of research projects? Do you have some kind of budget for this? Do you fund projects? Do you support projects, research projects?
Yes, we have a budget that every year we use to improve the efficiencies of our DOS proceedings in partner with our examination offices. The aim is to improve efficiencies, improve quality, guaranteeing cost effectiveness, and all of these components are taken into consideration when we receive a proposal to co-finance a project by, for example, a group of national authorities. National authorities, they may pull together to ask for the co-funding of a specific project. They might have a common interest or a shared research capability to propose to the CPVO the co-financing of a project. To be even more concrete, for example, there is an opportunity to build up a shared database that could be useful for all the participating institutions, and that could bring efficiency gains.
Technical protocols?
Yes, and the technical protocols are also the very basic of the technical work.
So you support research aimed at gaining in efficiency when it comes to your examination of it. Do you have a plan, or do you need, or are you thinking of streamlining your internal processes? What are the big things that are going to happen at the CPVO next time?
Well, in 2022 and for a period of 5 years, we have adopted a new strategic plan. One of the most important components of our new strategy is streamlining efficiencies, continuous improvement of our processes, improving quality, making the services diversified, transparent, sustainable for our innovators. Indeed, there is an eye keeping costs under a reasonable level. We are even started a project to relocate into a new building. There are several reasons for that. So one of the major one is to have an impact on costs, also because the CPVO is self-financed. So being self-financed means that the users of the system have to pay fees to have access to the services of the CPVO. We have to make good use of these resources. Streamlining our operations and making the way we work more efficient means make savings. I do hope that also this project on the building will produce its effects in the medium term.
And in the long term, how do you think the CPVO will change to meet new challenges in farming and in the environment?
Well, supporting innovation with any kind of new varieties will remain the focus of the CP. By granting titles that can give back the huge investment and risks that innovators take when they innovate and protect new varieties. The importance of supporting innovation by making available a solid intellectual property right is our mission and will remain so as our target.
Thank you, Mr. Mattina, for your insights. Remember to follow us and subscribe to stay updated on this and future episodes. Thank you for tuning in today. Together, let's continue to explore and understand the ever-evolving world of plant variety protection and its broader implication on our lives and our planet. Stay curious, stay informed, and join us next time on this journey. Until then, this is Alessio De Laurentiis signing off, wishing you a great day ahead.